Space. The final frontier. These are the voyagers of the USS Cymru Wales. Its ongoing mission to explore new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, and introduce these civilizations to the sport of rugby. Rugby, the game to end all games. 15 men on each team. Tries, penalties and scrum. Hi guys, this is Jared, Blind Man Plays. Sorry I had to get a little Welsh joke in there. I just couldn't help myself. So, as I am a Star Trek fan, and Star Trek Picard has basically started broadcasting on Paramount Plus, I thought I would delve into some Star Trek games and share them all with you guys. I know some of you may not be Star Trek fans, maybe Star Trek fans, but there might be something for everyone here. There's a very broad range of different games and gameplay across multiple platforms. We're going to be focusing mostly on the 8-bit and 16-bit eras, but with a few exceptions. So, without further ado, this is Adaptation Episode 8, and this is Star Trek console games. Star Trek 25th Anniversary NES. So basically the premise of this game is the Enterprise has travelled into a sector of space where they've hit a spatial anomaly and it's caused some disruption to the ship. And Kirk, McCoy and Spock have to beam down and find dilithium crystals to repower the ship and carry out various quests. Now, I was quite pleasantly surprised by this because it's not the type of game I would remember playing on the NES, and what I liked about it was how well the actual depictions of the crew were drawn. Not so much in the gameplay segment, but the cutscenes really sort of like punch above the NES's weight a little bit. I quite like the fact that the camera sort of zooms round and you can see the various officers as they're talking, and I love the fact that Spock looks like a pixie. He does. He just looks like a pixie. But I can't help it. But it's a very interesting top-down game. What I find lets it down really is the actual gameplay. Your phaser is just absolutely useless. The biggest enemy you have in the first sort of part of the game is these worms that inhabit the forest. So if they attack you, you are basically dead. So you go down into this colony of cat people and you speak to the various different people there. I love the way the music reflects the show as well, like where when I was doing like a tribal dance, you got like the tribal music from like various episodes where that's sort of been shown. I think that was kind of cool. The music and sound design to it is pretty good. But the biggest thing that lets it down really is the gameplay, because you don't really know what's hitting you until you actually get to the bottom of the map and you actually get to speak to the different various representatives of the cat people. This is definitely one I would probably continue playing. I haven't got too far into it at the moment, but I found it quite interesting. Definitely something different for the NES, and if you actually want to try something a bit different, a bit sci-fi, and maybe something that sort of is more sort of RPG like, then give this a shout. Star Trek The Next Generation for the NES. Now, what I like about this is it's basically a bridge simulator. You have the different comm badges of the various crew members, like Worf does tactical, Data does operations. And it seems a bit complex, first of all, but you've basically got to go to this colony that's being attacked, and you're basically entering into sort of space combat. My biggest gripe with this was obviously the controls in space. It was a bit hard to find out where you were going, and I suppose it's the limitations of the hardware at the time. You have to like switch screens to get to the radar to find out where the ship is. The detail on the ships are actually pretty good. The detail on screen is okay for an 8-bit era. It's not as good as the 25th anniversary, but actually Next Generation, again, not bad at all. Star Trek Final Frontier, the NES. This is a bag of shit. I don't even think it got released. I found this online. It's one of those sort of obscure NES copies I sort of run into over the years, and you're basically taking part in the opening scenes of the 5th Star Trek film, Star Trek The Final Frontier, and it's just hilarious how you're sort of walking, it's like you're this old man sort of trotting along in this red trench coat. Your phaser is like a pea shooter. It's absolutely and utterly useless. It's like all the bad bits of Altered Beast all rolled into one. I got past the first screen and killed a couple of enemies, and it was just like, what the heck is going on here? But it's definitely one that should remain to the annals of history. On the far reaches of space, out on the frontier, near the Bajoran wormhole, is Action Cisco. This guy is like Chuck Norris. He prances about ops as if he owns the place. He is. Imagine if Star Trek Deep Space Nine was actually like this. It would just be hilarious. The music for the start just like isn't Star Trek. It's just like, what the hell is this? It's like I can play a Knight Rider or something from the 80s. So anyway, so you start off in Cisco's office, and it's a fairly accurate representation of Deep Space Nine. Odo calls you to his office and says there's been a crime. But Cisco just basically marches into ops, and he's talking to O'Brien. O'Brien's like, bloody Cardassian security system's gone down. Major Kira's just like, I'm bored. And Dax is like, I'm scanning the wormhole cruise, I have nothing else to do. And Cisco's like, I'm off down to see Odo. See you guys later, chumps. So he basically gets into his lift. He goes up the promenade, and he speaks to Jake. He's like, Jake, what are you doing loitering here? Jake's like, I'm only waiting for Nog. And then it's like he goes up to the temple. The Vedic at the temple. He's like, the prophets await you. Not now, thank you. And there's like a Cardassian looking shifty at the other end of the promenade, and you eventually get to Odo's office, and Odo's like, someone got attacked. Bashia's looking after her, but basically nothing else has happened. Oh, okay, that was kind of pointless. I'll go and see Bashir then. So off he goes to see Bashir, and then Bashir's like, yeah, everything's fine. I was like, what's the point of this? So he goes back to ops, and we see Dax, and Dax is like, oh, there's some weird activity going on up in Pylon 1 or 2. Okay, I'll go and check it out, because Chief O'Brien is rather busy right now with the bloody Cardassian systems. So off he goes, now back down, to the other pylons, and we've got this, what the hell? I know Cardassian construction is terrible, but what the they actually had to do this, moving platforms, like, to get to the ship. It'd be a safety nightmare. So this goes basically prancing round. He's going to sort of use these lifts to get different places, and there's Bajorans beaming onto the station with grenades. And so you see there's a downed Starfleet crew member, and you pick up his phaser, and then you're basically walking around disarming grenades. And you basically, it's an action sort of platformer in the style of Deep Space Nine, and it just doesn't fit the show at all. But it's just absolutely hilarious, and I would really recommend giving this one a try, guys. Star Trek Next Generation Futures Past. Now this is kind of cool. You basically start off at Earth, and you get a distress call from a scientist that's working near the Romulan neutral zone, and a Romulan ship has entered orbit, and you basically go to answer the call. So you basically, it's the same as the NES game. You have different stations, and obviously different crew members that can do different things, communications, comms, tactical, etc, etc. I quite enjoyed this, to be perfectly honest. This is actually really decent. You end up eventually, after finding your way, navigating through the different menus and things, you find your way to the planet, and you beam down. You're selecting a way team. You're basically then got like a top-down view, a bit like Star Trek 25th anniversary. You're basically walking around with your away team. You're shooting some Romulans. You know, this is kind of cool. I like this. This is actually really, it's a good mix of gameplay, and this is kind of what I want to expect from a Star Trek game. You know, I want to be walking around shooting people with phasers, but I also want a bit of space combat as well. And the space combat is pretty cool. It's kind of top down, so it's not actually through the view screen like it is on other games, but this is kind of top down. After these Romulans have attacked me, I'm like, oh, okay. Then a scout attacks me, so right, come on in. Jesus Christ, he's firing these bloody torpedoes like machine guns. Fucking take him out, come on, let's be having him. Ah, got him. Okay, so I think we've neutralised the Romulan threat. Wait there. This is an admiral calling us. What? He's giving us a row for blowing up a Romulan scout ship. I should have hailed him first. He attacked me. What am I supposed to do? Give him an opportunity to surrender. Okay. This is definitely one that I would check out. Really good sort of mix of gameplay. It's a cool space simulation. The controls work really well once you get used to them. Yeah, I quite enjoy this. Hi guys, I just want to say a quick shout out to everyone who's made this community possible by liking and sharing and watching the videos, subscribing to the channel, and coming back. Some of you will come back, you know, it's amazing. I never would have thought after a couple of months of just doing this we'd be on the views that we have, and we have 160 odd subscribers. It's absolutely blown my mind. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I just wanted to give a shout out on this video to a podcast that those of you who are Star Trek fans may enjoy. It's done by some friends of mine, and it's called Measure of a Fan, and it's absolutely hilarious. It's basically two avid Star Trek fans who have been fans for basically life, and another gentleman who has never watched Star Trek before, and they're watching the episodes in continuity order. They're on the 4th season of Enterprise at the moment, and I don't think I've laughed this much at a Star Trek podcast. It is absolutely hilarious, and it would mean the world to me if you guys check out this podcast and have a listen for yourselves, because I highly recommend it, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed at all. Thank you very much guys. Now let's continue with the video. Star Trek Next Generation Echoes from the Past. So this is basically a carbon copy of the last game, but on the Mega Drive. where they've changed just certain things. The Doctor with the distress call looks slightly different. This is a bad version of the last game. They've slightly changed things, so it's like Colonist Mu and Colonist Nu, and in the SNES they've slightly changed the locations. It's the exact same sort of list of different locations that you can go to. What I liked about the Mega Drive version is on the SNES version you would go directly to where you need to go if you just select the system. In the Mega Drive version, you've actually got to seek out the right planet to go to before you can transport down. I thought that was the one thing I thought was pretty kind of cool, because it was like, okay, that's more like, it's more, a little bit more in depth, a little bit more nuanced. I thought that was kind of cool. But what the heck? Come on. The controls as you beam down are awful. It's like hard. I don't understand what I need to be doing to sort of like select the different, get the crew members to follow me. Is Data picking his nose? Okay, now I'm now I've switched players. If you've got a choice between the two, the SNES version is ultimately superior. Star Trek Beyond Generations Game Gear. So this basically loosely takes the plot of the Generations movie, except for the fact before reaching the Nexus in this version, they get attacked by the Tholians for no reason. And it's an okay space combat simulator. I like the idea of it. Its implementation that's kind of bad, because you're fighting these ships and your phasers lose power. They've only got a certain amount of power and they have to recharge, and your shields recharge. But the thing is, the same happens for your opponents as well, so it takes forever to kill these things, and the controls are inverted. What is the deal with inverting the X and Y axis in older games? But once you sort of get into it, it's a reasonably good sort of combat game. And then there's this kind of puzzle where Chekhov has to decode something, and it's like, if he doesn't decode it, you basically get game over. And I just thought that was kind of lame. If they'd have kept it to sort of space combat, maybe a bit of I do believe there's some top-down sort of elements to this game that follow sort of like the later scenes of the film, but this is, oh my god, I just ruined it. So the first mission is kind of cool, but after that, like with these little puzzles and things, it just doesn't work. Doesn't work at all. Beyond Generations Game Boy. This is basically a carbon copy of the Game Gear version in black and white. And if the controls were bad in the Game Gear version, they're even worse on the Game Boy. And the worst thing about it is that your phasers don't have anywhere near as much power. So like you actually won't get enough shots off. The same thing kind of happens when you shoot the other ship. It kind of has a bit of a recoil, so you kind of lose them. So you can't like keep a phaser on them for too long. It kind of recoils, and like the ship will sort of move to the side, and you will kind of lose your target lock. This is even worse on the Game Boy, and to be perfectly honest, again, you know, if you're looking for just a little bit of space combat on the go, I suppose it'll be okay. It's serviceable, but I was 20 minutes into playing this and I just got bored, so I can't really recommend it. Star Trek Academy Starship Bridge Command 32X. Now, you didn't really get many sort of great games on the 32X. This was also on the SNES, but it was much more brighter and colourful. This is a really interesting game. You basically go through 4 years of Starfleet Academy training. And you've got like the lounge, and you can go speak to Jones in the lounge, and you can go speak to your crew, and you can play through various missions. My first gripe with this game is the navigation. The space navigation could be a bit better, and then you have these training missions, and you've got to line these targets up, and it's not impossible, but it's a little bit punishing. But then the game does have quite a bit of charm, and there's lots of scenarios you can play through. Apparently there's elements of the game where you have to do scientific research and different things, but it's the first proper bridge simulation where you can control everything from science to navigation to tactical to comms to everything else. What I do like about these is the scenarios. You see on screen now I am playing the Undiscovered Country, Battle from the Undiscovered Country. To replay that battle is absolutely sublime. I'm not good at it, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And the other two that you can do on the bat, I'm not sure if you can unlock any more further on into the game, but the other two you can unlock off the bat are Balance of Terror, which is one of the best Star Trek original series episodes going, and was revisited in Strange New Worlds. Catch up on that, guys, if you haven't seen that. The last episode of Strange New Worlds is kind of a retelling of the Balance of Terror, and I'm not going to spoil any more than that, but it is absolutely utterly sublime. So you actually play, the Balance of Terror just as it is, plays out on the TV show. And obviously the Wrath of Khan. This is the Wrath of Khan on screen now, and that's, again, really, really cool. I like this game. What I also found was quite amusing is there's a pool game in the lounge. It's probably one of the best 2D pool simulators I have seen. Definitely the only pool game on the 32X, and when I was playing the game for the first time, I actually ended up spending more time playing pool than I did playing anything else in the game because it was so addictive. It's not rugby, but oh my god, I can't even stand rugby. I don't like rugby. I'm just pulling you guys' leg. I am actually a Welsh guy who doesn't really like rugby. I don't mind going to see it now and again. I've been to see a few matches, been to see Wales play a couple of times, but it's like football. I can take it or leave it. I don't mind it, but I'm not a huge follower of the sport. I just wanted to have a bit of a joke. Star Trek Bridge Command is a really good game. It is really nice and colourful. It's got everything. It's basically the sum total of what you're getting in 21st Anniversary, the bridge elements of in Next Generation, and the base of the bridge games I've just covered. It is like the best sort of version of that come out on a console.
On our ships, you will pay in kind with your lives.
Romulan vessel has terminated communication.
This is Star Trek Invasion on the PlayStation 1. I'm not going to spend too much time with this because I covered this in an earlier episode of Adaptation. But it's basically a Star Trek game based on the Colony Wars engine. All I'm going to say about this game was a really cool space shooter. Not the best Star Trek game because it just deviates too far from the canon for my liking, but as a space shooter goes, pretty cool.
Photon torpedoes, full spread.
Torpedoes away.
Star Trek Voyager Elite Force PlayStation 2. Now, a lot of people didn't like this game. They found it very clunky. I enjoyed it, to be honest with you. I didn't get to play it on the PC at the time. The PC version is superior in every stretch of the imagination. The graphics are worlds apart. I would say that the graphics on the PS2 era definitely needed polishing up. They were nowhere near as good as the PC offering, but still the opportunity to play a first-person shooter in the Star Trek universe, it's good fun, and I did enjoy the multiplayer games back in the day. We had some good fun playing Star Trek Voyager multiplayer. So basically the premise of this game is you are a crew member on the Voyager that's lost in the Delta Quadrant, and you're part of what's called the Hazard Team, which is basically a bunch of canaries. They are sent into a situation first to make sure everything is all cool before the real important people can come. So they're basically a highly trained, highly skilled security team that can go and do certain things that other crew members may not be able to. And they've got different high-tech equipment, etc. So you start off on a training mission in a Borg vessel, first of all, which is really cool. And then you get to sort of explore the ship. You get to actually walk around Voyager, which I thought was awesome. And then you basically get attacked by this other ship, and then you're sent into this sort of never space with which is like a ship graveyard. Star Trek Voyager Elite Force is it's a fairly decent first-person shooter. It's not the greatest first-person shooter of all time, but I would say as Star Trek first-person shooters go on console, it's the only offering really there, and it's it's out of all the PlayStation 2 Star Trek games, it is actually the best. PC is better by a country mile, but I don't know. A lot of people don't like it. Personally, I'd recommend it. I still had fun with it.
For the Confederacy.
Star Trek Conquest, PlayStation 2. So this basically came out at the end of the lifespan of PlayStation 2. It's a very simplistic domination real-time strategy game where you have several races. So you have Earth, Klingons, Romulans, Breen, Dominion and Cardassians. The aim of the game is to dominate the map, to wipe out all the other races. You can either have a sort of top-down combat, or you can have a more in-depth simulation mode as far as Starship combat is concerned. I prefer the simpler combat. I don't really enjoy the simulation mode. Some people might. I love sort of like real-time strategy, sort of conquest games. I love games like Civilization and things like that. Ascendancy, Birth of the Federation. For me, this is just, it's a guilty pleasure, I would say it that way. It's not a good game by any stretch of the imagination. There's so much more I could do with it, but it's a simple risk type game. I would recommend it, even if it's just for a couple of hours of fun. There we have it, guys. Got up as far as the PlayStation 2. There are a couple of other games that I could have showcased, but I want to just show there's a good 10 games there, and it's again a different variety. But if you're into Star Trek and a bit of retro games, then some of these might be for you. So that's why I thought I would do this episode. So thank you very much. My DOS emulation video is coming out very shortly, along with Windows emulation video, and I have a PS3 emulation video coming up as well. I also have a Master System video based on Disney games, which is going to be coming up very shortly, so please keep an eye on the channel, guys. Again, apologies for the uploads not being as consistent as of late. There's a few things going on personally at the moment, and I'm unable to keep the schedule as much as I'd like to, but I'm hoping to get a few bonus videos out this week to make up for the ones that I've missed. So thanks very much guys for your continued support. I'll see you very soon. Live long and prosper. Peace.